I love this song. Okay, welcome. Good morning. Happy Saturday morning. I wanted to share my screen with you, but again, Facebook, they say once you're actually live that you should be able to share your screen, but it's all grayed out and I can't click on it. So I have sent the messages. I'm really hoping they get back to me. But welcome to August 1st, our very first session or coffee crew meeting of August, and we are getting into it this day. Like, I hope you have your coffee. I hope you're cuddled up somewhere cozy. And because we're going to probably push a few buttons today, not in a bad way though, in a good way, because we are talking about what keeps people small, smart people playing small. And a lot of times we don't even know that we're actually doing it. So let me just get to the right screen here. I want to be able to make sure that you guys can see me. So if you can see me, please, if you can hear me too, please drop a one in the comments, or a hi or a chat or a wave or something in the comments. Let me know that you're here, where you're tuning in from. I am really grateful that you are here. I really appreciate you, and I love that you're here to talk about these things with me, because really what it's all about is helping people to recognize things that are happening in their lives that don't necessarily serve them, and then how to, once they recognize it, how to shift on out of it quickly in the moment, so that their life ultimately, weekend by weekend, just gets a little better and a little better. And that's what this is all about. If you're tuning in on a replay, so glad you're able to catch the replay. Thank you. Please drop a replay in the comments. When you do that, Facebook actually sees that people want to see the replay, and so they'll actually push it out. They'll do something with their algorithm, and they'll push it out to more people, so this video, this live, can help more people even after the fact. So thank you for being here. If you're catching the replay, can you please drop a replay in the comments, where you're tuning in from, any questions, any thoughts that you had. And yeah, okay, let's get into it so that you guys can get on with your day. And I think you're gonna love this topic. So we're going to be calling out a pattern today, and the pattern is all about having to constantly prove yourself. And there's many ways that people do this without even knowing that this is what they're doing. So it's actually part of what's called imposter syndrome. And a lot of people have been messaging me recently saying, what is imposter syndrome? Like, it sounds a bit vague almost, and people don't really like to admit that they might be feeling like an imposter, but it's a little more insidious than that. It's really quite a sneaky little pattern and habits that develop from what's happening subconsciously, and it actually stops you from being who you really, really are. And so because you're not being who you are, you're being someone else, whether it's in that moment or all the time, or you just feel like you can't be yourself when you're around certain people. That is actually what's called imposter syndrome. But it's not just that you can't be yourself. There's a reason behind that. And that's what we always dig into. That's what we deep dive into, is the reason behind the whys we do things. So yeah, we're going to name some triggers. So get ready. Like I said, we might be pushing some buttons today, but in a good way. Because if you can recognize what's going wrong, then you can take steps to change it. And that's all this is really all about. So we're going to talk about your energy, not your physical energy, although that is impacted, but the energy that you give towards things, your attention, your moment of presence, and things like that. Your visibility. We're going to talk about self-trust. Then we're going to share a weekly mindset shift so that you can practice this all week long, because remember, every new habit that you develop takes time, and it doesn't just bing happen. It takes work. It's a muscle that you need to flex all the time. So I'm going to give you something that you can use throughout the week when you catch yourself playing small. Okay, and yeah, let's get into it. Okay, I just want to be able to use my arrow keys. Here we go. All right. So, imposter syndrome, what is it? It's not just self doubt. I mean, a lot of what I see online today, a lot of people, when they talk about imposter syndrome, they really focus on just the self doubt. That's actually a part of it, but not the biggest part. One of the biggest parts out of it, that comes out of imposter syndrome, is the self pressure that one puts on oneself. Like you're putting on, your uniform to go to work, or a suit to go to work, or whatever it is. It's something that you're actually putting on so that you're no longer being let me take a sip of coffee. Get my thoughts together. It's self-pressure where you're not able to be yourself in the moment. I got it out. Does that ever happen to you guys? So anyway, thanks for putting up with me and all my crazy little weird quirks. But that's what makes me me, right? Okay. So it can look like you are a super confident person on the outside. And I'm going to tell you a bit of a story, because at one point in my life, for probably a long time, I had imposter syndrome and didn't even know it. And this is why it's called one of those sneaky little insidious things, because it creeps up on you little by little, and before you know it, you don't recognize yourself anymore, or you don't recognize yourself in moments, and then you start to spiral. It's like, why did I do that, or why did I say that? And it all kind of stems back to this imposter syndrome, where you've put so much pressure on yourself, you just simply can't be who you really are supposed to be. And it shows up in ways like you over prepare, even though you know the topic, or you know what you're doing, you've done it forever, you still feel that pressure where you have to be so over prepared just in case this and just in case that. And don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with being over prepared. And being ready for, certain circumstances. But I'm talking about going to the nth degree, where you literally take so much extra time to go overboard in your preparation that it's not a healthy thing, because it's simply not necessary. Your time and energy could be used elsewhere. It's things like imposter syndrome is things like replaying over and over in your mind something that you did or did not do, something that a conversation you had, or something you said, and it just keeps going and you can't stop it from the replay. And it's because your subconscious mind is trying to tell you something. We're going to pull that out in a little bit here. So stick with me right through to the end, because you're going to find this quite fascinating, because everything we talk about every Saturday is always rooted in science, in NLP, and in science, backed by science. So it's pretty cool stuff, pretty neat brain work. But it's kind of where I'm fascinated to go, and I learned a lot about this because of what I went through. And so another way that imposter syndrome shows up is you're constantly polishing everything you say, everything you do, how you look. Everything just has to be just uber perfect, like super duper perfect, like over the top perfect, so that people see you in not necessarily your natural way, but the way you want them to see you, which may not necessarily be how you're feeling inside. Does that make sense? you're not feeling so great inside, so you're trying to project something that isn't actually what's really going on, because you don't want someone to see what's actually going on inside. And that's okay. Not saying that's wrong. There's zero judgment. But this can creep up and start to develop patterns and habits in your life that are not going to serve you, that don't serve you, that actually keep you stuck or even moving in the wrong direction, not the direction that you want to be going in. Sometimes even going backwards. Okay, and another way imposter syndrome shows up is you simply don't show up. You end up hiding. You end up hiding by not speaking up when you know you need to or want to. You end up hiding by just canceling what you want to do with friends or what you thought you wanted to do. You end up hiding by not participating. You might even show up, but you're just going to kind of just sit back and just sort of, be quiet or mellow or just watch, right? Is that the real you, or is something going on that you're just not quite comfortable and you can't put your finger on why you're uncomfortable? Another way imposter syndrome shows up is you downplay what you've actually achieved. So when someone gives you kudos, there's a difference between being humble and a difference between rejecting a compliment. So if you did a really good job at work and your boss goes, "Oh, you did a fantastic job, John. I'm so impressed by your work." And John says, "Yeah, it was actually a team effort." Boom. You just tried to take the focus off you and the work that you put in and direct it elsewhere. And that's okay. When your team gets recognition for the work that they did, that's okay. But when you're receiving a compliment, accept it. If you help a friend out for whatever they need and they say thank you, don't say, "Oh, it's nothing." Say, "You're welcome. I enjoyed this. I'm glad I was there to help you." Accept it. So when you work hard, you go to school, you go to university, or you go to college, and you earn that degree, and somebody says, "Wow, that's a big deal." You go, "Yeah, it is. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I'm proud of myself." So deflecting compliments and downplaying your accomplishments is a sneaky little way that imposter syndrome is kind of chirping in the ear saying, "You don't deserve that compliment, so deflect it, downplay it, or even reject it and go, "Oh, no, no, no." Some people actually do that. I've actually done that, where someone has given me a compliment and I'm like, "Oh, no, thank you, but no." Yeah, and so that's imposter syndrome, where you feel like you aren't good enough to accept that compliment. And that's not a positive place to be in. So again, back to why we do Saturday Coffee Crew and Saturday Mindset Reset is to recognize when you're in that pattern or when you're in that habit and changing it. This is what keeps really smart people that are capable of incredible performance. It keeps them stuck and underperforming and constantly trying to, in being underperforming, they try to overperform, but it consumes them. They're not actually performing as well as they could. That's how imposter syndrome keeps really smart people playing small, because they think they're not good enough. So, and it makes every new opportunity that walks through the door or knocks on the door in the office or rings through your phone or comes through an email, every new opportunity seems like a test. It's like, ooh, oh, at first you're like, and then you're like, okay, I can do this. I know this. I think I got this, but I'm just going to go so over the top. Somebody's going to wait to see how good I am at this. And so you're constantly trying to prove yourself. So you're always putting yourself in, "I'm really good" test mode. And that's not a good place to hang out, because you never give your brain a break. Your brain needs a break. It deserves a break. You've worked hard to be where you're at. So today we're going to show you how you can own it, and own it authentically, not fake own it like imposter syndrome. It's not the goal to have fake confidence. That doesn't help anybody anywhere. The goal is to actually trust yourself, and then the confidence is what automatically happens. All right, so If you're just joining us a few minutes late, welcome. We're talking about imposter syndrome today and how imposter syndrome is really so sneaky. A lot of people don't even know they have it. So I've got a question for you. Pop this in the comments. Type a 1 in the comments if you over prepare and you end up replaying conversations over and over and over and over in your head. You're an over preparer, or you replay things over and over. Type a 2 in the comments if you constantly downplay your wins. I used to do number 1 too. Type a 3 in the comments if you often wait until everything is absolutely perfect before you actually go and put your work out there, or before you say something, or the moment has to be just right before you act. Because when you're constantly in waiting for perfection mode, perfection very rarely ever shows up. Nobody's ever being perfect. Perfection takes work, takes time and practice. But when it comes to imposter syndrome, you're probably really, really good at what you do, otherwise you wouldn't be there. But imposter syndrome tells you you're not. So you have to wait until you're better. You have to wait until this happens, or you have to wait until it's perfect. And that's one of the insidious ways that imposter syndrome works, because it's keeping you stuck. It's you're holding yourself back. And who wants to live in that? So what this really looks like as far as a pattern could be, okay? Because there's lots of different patterns that imposter syndrome can show up like. So you rehearse what you're going to say multiple times for a simple conversation. I'm not talking about a speech to 700 people or, to the board. I'm talking about a simple conversation, but before you enter into it, it's not a stressful conversation, but you're rehearsing. You're trying to predict what they may say, and so you're trying to be prepared for that, which puts you into a state of worry, because worry means you're trying to predict what hasn't happened yet. So you're worrying about it. That's not a good state to be in. You replay what you already said, and you cringe over and over, even if what you said nobody else thought was cringy. But in your mind, it's like, that was so cringe. Why did I say that? And you get stuck in that loop. That's happened to me before too. That happens to a lot of people. But nobody else thought it was cringe. So why do you have to beat yourself up for it, right? We already mentioned this one. You downplay your wins. And you do it so that you don't come across as braggy, or come across as having an ego being too much. Yeah, that's me, I'm all that. No. If you've worked hard for something and you've accomplished it, you accept that. You own it. You worked bloody hard for that. That's yours to own and be proud of. And not proud in a pompous way, but proud in a way that you shine, because you really did that. And it doesn't matter if it's help a friend, earn a degree, it doesn't matter what we're talking about. Nail that project at work, paint your wall in your living room. Somebody will come in and say, hey, that looks great. Oh, yeah, it was nothing. No, yeah, I did that. I know, it looks pretty good, huh? I'm kind of happy how it turned out. There's lots of ways you can accept the accolades that are coming to you, no matter how big or small the accolade is, that you can accept it and own it and be gracious without seeming like your ego's in the way, or not seeming like you're braggy. Okay? Another way this pattern shows up is you keep learning. Oh, that's not good enough. I'm gonna proofread this email for the 10th time, and I'm gonna keep tweaking it until it's perfect. No, you got to let that go. You have better things to focus your time on. I mean, run through the email once. You can even run it through some kind of an AI program to check your grammar if you're worried about that, or run it through, ChatGPT or Claude or somebody or something like that. I mean, to check to see if your tone is what you're looking for. But don't keep tweaking it and going over it and over preparing for it instead of just letting yourself be seen. Send it out. Make the report and run through it, double check it, make sure your T's are crossed and your I's are dotted, and fire it off. Don't keep tweaking it and changing it, and a word here and a comment there and a space here, and oh my goodness, you're human, and humans wonderfully make mistakes, because when we make mistakes, that's our opportunity to learn from it. But you don't want to be stuck in, I'm scared to make a mistake, so I'm not going to take action mode. And that's what imposter syndrome does. Is any of this resonating with you guys? Comment a 1 in the comments if this is hitting home with anyone. Gosh, I used to live in this mode, and I'm just checking because Facebook, love it. I love you, Facebook. They're not showing me that anybody's on. Every week, it shows me I have nobody on the live with me, and then when I'm done, it tells me how many people were attending the live. And sometimes it'll work for a flash, and then it's gone back again. So, and I had my internet upgraded to like the fastest internet one can have in where I live. So I know it's not my internet now. Anywho, awesome. Yeah, I see some ones coming through. I don't know if you guys can see that at your end, but yeah, okay. This is really the part that nobody talks about, because silently, I know based on what you guys are responding, you're like going, dang, that's me, or I've been that person, or I'm that way when I'm. And so I'm really glad this is hitting home. I'm really glad this is resonating with you. That means this topic is perfect timing, because nobody should be living in that state. Okay. Let's see. Oh, another way that imposter syndrome shows up is that you constantly assume that everyone else in the room really belongs there and you don't. That you haven't earned your place. But here's the thing. You wouldn't be in the room if you didn't earn your place to be there. So stop and take a breath and go, yeah, I deserve to be here. If you're in a meeting with a bunch of execs, you deserve to be there. Otherwise, trust me, you wouldn't be. You wouldn't have been invited. You wouldn't be the one generating the meeting if that's your case. You wouldn't be the one, preparing the meeting. Do you see where I'm going? If you don't feel like you deserve to be there, you wouldn't be. So just let that go. And this is the part that a lot of people just quietly live with, but you don't have to live with it. Here's a couple of habits that seem quite harmless, but quietly in the background, they keep the patterns that we just talked about running. It's like they feed these patterns. You over-explain so nobody can question you. Have you ever found yourself doing that? You're asked a question, you give a response, and then you keep giving the response in different ways because you're not sure people are getting what you're trying to say, so you're really over-explaining it. And that's not a good place to be in. Say what you need to say and stop. Let it land. You don't need to over-explain yourself. You don't need to justify your response, whatever it is, for whatever situation you're in. Your response is your response. Sorry about that. I should have had my phone turned off. Someone's trying to call me. What about this one? Here's another habit that keeps feeding those patterns we were talking about. Doing extra so that you don't end up disappointing anyone. So you're going over the top, not because you love to go over the top, but because people expect it of you, and if you don't, you're going to disappoint them. Because they're so used to you going over the top that they come to start expecting that from you. That was me. Oh man. Years ago, I was stuck in imposter syndrome so deep it was crazy. Oh, because all these things, I have these flashes at moments in my career where I see that was exactly me in that moment. Another one, we've kind of touched on this. You're waiting for perfection before you post, before you launch, before you speak up, before you hit send, before you deliver the report. You just wait for perfection, which is not a good place to stay. Often people develop habits when they have imposter syndrome and don't know it. They fish for reassurance from outside, from others. They look for compliments. They prompt for compliments, and it's because they don't trust themselves. So they're looking for reassurance from others, because they're not getting that reassurance internally. You're not giving it to yourself internally. And so you seek compliments. You go out of your way to prompt or ask people for reassurance. And another one that kind of ties in closely to a pattern, but this is actually a habit, is you shrink down your success so other people stay comfortable. So see the difference between staying quiet when you should be speaking up, or staying quiet or not accepting your accolades because it might make someone else, you're worried, it might make someone else feel uncomfortable. Is that landing? How many times have we done that? I know I've done that a lot, where someone else in the room might be working towards something I've already achieved. And if I know they're struggling and someone gives me a compliment for achieving it, I downplay it so that I don't make them feel bad. But instead, if I wouldn't have downplayed it and said, thank you, I really worked hard on that, that just might be the inspiration to that other person for them to hop over that hurdle or get past that hurdle that they may be stuck at. Or they may even come to you and ask for advice because they see you as someone who can help them, someone they can look up to. But if you're shrinking back because you're worried of what other people are thinking or feeling, you might be robbing someone else of that opportunity to see you as who you really are, which is a person who deserves those accolades. Is this landing with anyone? Drop a me in the comments. And if you're not comfortable with that, dropping that in the comments, send me a private message so that I can see there. Because I know some of these things, you might have a friend that might be logged on too, or you might not want someone else to see that some of this resonates with you. And I totally get that. I really do. Today, I think I've reached the point where I'm not really worried about what other people think or see, because I'm a human. I have feelings, thoughts, and emotions. Not in that order. Thoughts, then feelings, and emotions. But yeah, stop worrying so much about what other people think. You own your accolades. Okay. So what this costs you, every week we always talk about whatever the problem is and what it costs you. What do you think it costs you? Drop that into the comments. If you know that you have experienced some negative feedback from maybe some of these patterns and habits that you didn't actually know were imposter syndrome. Here's one. Your energy. You exhaust yourself trying to look good enough constantly. That's exhausting. Your brain never gets a break. You stay hidden while waiting to feel ready, so that costs you your visibility. Someone could have been in the room that if you would have spoken up when you knew you had the right response or the right answer or the right input in that moment, but you stayed silent for whatever reason, and maybe you would have been noticed by someone, and there could have been a positive result come from that, right? So your visibility, you're diminishing yourself, right? Opportunities. You hesitate, you hold back, you say no too soon because you lack the confidence, or you're doubting yourself or not trusting yourself to be able to see that opportunity for what it is. And so because you doubt yourself, you don't think that opportunity is right for you. You've got that little thing chirping. It's going, can you really do that? Do you really think you should do that? Do you want to take that on right now? You're too busy being perfect, trying to be perfect over here, and you never speak up anyway. So why would you take that opportunity? You see how that little insidious self-doubt kind of causes you to lose out on opportunities? And that self-doubt tells your subconscious mind you don't trust yourself. And your subconscious mind will always bring you what you focus on because it says, hey, that must be important. He or she is constantly thinking about that. So I'm going to make sure that keeps appearing in their life over and over and over. Because if that's all she's thinking about, that's got to be important. And if she doesn't trust herself, I get it. I'm hearing you. We'll make sure you don't trust yourself. And it's going to show up in lack of confidence. You're going to doubt yourself, your decisions. You're going to doubt your own thoughts. You're going to doubt other people. And ultimately, what all these things cost you is your peace of mind, your rest, your relaxation. Your mind never gets to rest when it's constantly trying to overperform because you think you're underperforming. And in reality, when you are constantly self-doubting yourself, you are not performing at your best. So you get stuck in this loop and you just keep going around and around and around. And that is how imposter syndrome keeps really smart people stuck and playing small. It's so big, and I'm really surprised that more people in the world today aren't talking about this, that it's not more mainstream than it actually should be. And so why do people actually get caught up in this? Why do they get hooked by this? Because, being capable, it doesn't make you immune to these patterns and developing these habits. Just because you're capable doesn't mean that you're not human. We're all human. The smarter and the more aware you are, the more your mind has to actually overthink. So if you're stuck in imposter syndrome, you're constantly overthinking everything. And you're too busy overthinking everything to actually execute on one thing. Or you only partially execute, or you don't execute at all because it's not perfect. It stalls you out because there's always just this little bit more to be done. Or who am I to do this? Who am I to do this? Who's going to listen to me? I mean, what do I have to say that somebody hasn't already said before? You're you, and there is no other you. So you have to put yourself out there. Stop overthinking. Just take one step and do. You set your standards high. This is a really big one where really smart people get stuck in imposter syndrome, is they keep moving the bar. They set really high standards for themselves, but that bar keeps moving. So they can never achieve it. And it falls back into, that's why you feel like you can't receive accolades when somebody wants to give you a kudos or a good pat on the back or a job well done. You deserve recognition. You keep moving that bar so silently you feel like you don't deserve it because you haven't reached the bar that you've set that's unattainable in this moment in time. Because maybe it is attainable, but in this moment in time, just relax in what you have earned. Another way smart people get hooked by this is you're used to doing well. So when you do make a mistake, it feels like the sky is falling. Oh, God, that happened to me once. Oh my gosh. I'm sure it's happened to me lots, but one time literally the sky fell and I ended up in a puddle of tears, couldn't stop crying the whole day at work. And my colleagues, I could see it in their face. They thought I was losing it, like literally, and I don't blame them. But I just didn't even know I was in the throes of imposter syndrome in that moment. Like, wow. I beat myself up. And it wasn't a big mistake at all, but in my mind, I blew it way out of proportion. I just couldn't believe it. I was so used to being that person. I had just won a provincial award. And then I go and make this rookie mistake. It's like, what? And I literally beat the crap out of myself inside. Yeah, oh well. I'm so glad I don't do that anymore. Is this resonating with anyone? Does this happen to anyone? Do you do that? Um, you may have learned early on in your life that being good kind of kept you safe and feeling accepted. So when you did something really good and you got some recognition, that feels good. But when it comes to imposter syndrome, it kind of gets a little bit twisted. And so it becomes not good enough. You need more recognition. So you keep pushing more. And this is where the over preparing, the over analyzing, the over explaining starts to come in. Because you're seeking that external approval when all you really need is just your own. So now proving yourself feels normal, even though it's draining the life right on out of you. See how that all kind of ties in together? One touches the other, and it all just makes one big package and wraps you up and keeps you playing small, even though you know your stuff. Yeah, imposter syndrome needs to be talked about more often. Who agrees with me? Drop in the comments if you agree with me. Yeah, 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 I see some yeses in there. Yeah, I know. I'm glad we're talking about this today. So every time you do one of these things that we've been talking about, you actually tell your subconscious mind that you're not good enough. And so your subconscious mind keeps feeding you what you're not good enough at, and you get stuck in that loop and you keep going. And that's how imposter syndrome keeps people down. Not good. This is your mindset shift for the week. Okay? Use this when you notice yourself slipping into proving mode, right? Proving mode means you're over explaining, you're overdoing, you're over preparing. When you're in this proving mode or you're not speaking up, right? Here's what you say to yourself. You pause when you feel the urge and you say it inside your mind. If you're in a room of others and you don't want them to hear this, you say to yourself, I do not have to keep on proving myself. I have already earned where I am. I do not have to keep proving what I've already earned. If you're by yourself, you're working in your office, you're alone, you take a moment and if you're in a social situation, you take a moment to be alone for a moment and wherever you need to go to do that. You can look yourself in the mirror, tell yourself, because that has massive impact on you subconsciously. I do not have to keep proving myself. I have already earned the right to be here. I do not have to keep proving what I've already earned. Use this before you make the post, before you send the email, before you fire off this report, because that will push you out of staying in perfection mode. It'll push you out of the mode where you're not good enough, where you feel like you're not good enough, where you feel like you haven't earned the right to be in that room. Use it before you go in that meeting. Use it before you make a decision. I do not have to keep proving what I've already earned. Give yourself some credit. Good job, Linny. You earned this. You don't have to keep proving it to yourself or anybody. Okay? And that is what we call a pattern interrupt. Because right now the pattern is dominating. It's the one calling the shots. It's the one making the decisions. And we're trying to stop that, cut it off, interrupt it so you can reset your mind. And so that you can perform at your full capacity like you know you can. Here's how to use it this week. This is the simple little challenge I'm going to give to you for the next 7 days, okay? So remember, we're going to notice it. We're going to name it. I'm in proving mode, or I'm stuck in imposter syndrome in this moment. Let's snap out of that, and we're going to interrupt it, okay? So here's how we do it. We catch one moment where you start overproving. Try to do this once a day at least, okay? Catch when you're in that moment, when you're about to over-explain something, stop yourself. Whoop. Don't need to. Name what you're doing, whether it's over-explaining, over-preparing, or you're shrinking back and not showing up when you should be, okay? Ask yourself this, what am I trying to protect myself from right now? What am I trying to protect myself from right in this moment? You don't have to say it out loud, but if you're all by yourself, of course you can. I like talking out loud to myself when I'm doing a pattern interrupt because auditory has an impact on your brain in addition to the thought. You're now stimulating it twice over. So ask yourself, in that moment, what am I trying to protect myself from right now? Okay? And then replace your old performance, whatever that pattern was, with one small act of self-trust. And then do something without adding extra proof on top of it that you know you're already good. You don't need to keep proving that. Just do the thing. Just get her done, hit the send button. You've proofread it. You don't need to proofread whatever it is 10,000 times. You know, send the report, send the email, walk into that meeting. You've earned the right to be there. You don't need to prove to anybody anything anymore, including yourself. Okay? So try this instead. These are a couple of ways that you can break this pattern once you've recognized it. So instead of over-explaining, give the short answer and stop, like I said a few minutes ago. Instead of hiding your win, let yourself receive it. Be gracious and let yourself receive it. That tells other people too that you have self-respect when you graciously accept the kudos that you've earned, okay? Instead of polishing forever, publish or speak up, okay? Instead of overthinking and then you miss your opportunity to say it. Instead of asking 5 people, make the decision yourself. You don't need verification and validation from anyone else. You've earned the right to do what you're doing in that moment. So just do it. Trust yourself enough to just do it. You know you can do it. And instead of waiting to feel worthy, act from a place of worth. That's really big. Because remember, your actions, your words, your thoughts are constantly being recorded by your subconscious mind. So if you're going to just stop with all the overthinking and the negative things and tell yourself, I am worthy, I earned this, your subconscious mind is going to earn that. So when you, or it's going to hear that rather, it's going to record that. And so again, what you focus on, your subconscious mind says, hey, that must be important. They're focusing on it, so let's keep giving them that. That's obviously what I need to keep feeding to them. Because your subconscious mind never shuts off. And it is working 24/7, whether you know it or not. That's how we end up with patterns. That's how we end up with beliefs. It's all sitting back in that subconscious mind. At one point, it registered, wow, this person obviously thinks this is important, so we're going to make sure this keeps happening. See how that works? Our brains are miraculous machines. But I don't know about you. I'm pretty sure you're like me. You want to stay in the driver's seat. I know I do. Okay. Confidence also, this is a really important note. Confidence doesn't mean you have to be louder. And I don't mean like louder as in, you gotta talk louder. I mean, some people do that. But what I mean by that is, you don't have to be louder in proving yourself. You don't have to be louder in constantly talking. You don't have to be louder in going overboard and going the extra mile. Sometimes have you ever heard the keep it simple, sweetie theory, the KISS theory? I like that. So sometimes you just got to say to yourself, hey, let's just kiss this right now. Keep it simple, sweetie. Because that works. Simplicity sometimes is the best. All right. So let's separate out what self-trust is from performance, because a lot of really, really smart people confuse the two. And it's just a habit that they form, and they think that performing, they're trusting themselves. But if you've got imposter syndrome, you're performing because you don't trust yourself. So let's differentiate this. Real confidence doesn't mean you're always going to be 100% certain in what you're about to say or act. But if you know that you know, don't doubt yourself. Okay? Trust yourself. Real confidence, it doesn't mean you're ever going to doubt yourself. Everybody has doubts. Just don't live in the doubt. That's where imposter syndrome tricks people. You don't even know you're doubting yourself. You've lost your self-trust so long ago that it now becomes hard for you to make decisions. Even some of the simplest decisions, you just overthink it and then you get overloaded, and so you don't make any decision at all, which is a decision. That's imposter syndrome. It's crazy. People don't even know that. That's one of the biggest imposter syndrome things, is people have a very difficult time making decisions because they don't trust themselves. It's trusting yourself enough to show up without demanding perfection from yourself first. This is going to be hard. Really smart, successful people, they demand perfection from themselves, from their team. But you don't have to be perfect to show up, to be present, to be in that moment, to be authentic, to trust yourself that you know what you're doing. It's letting yourself be seen before that inner critic that chirps on the shoulder, that's about to chirp something negative in your ear. It's letting yourself be seen before they get to start complaining. And then you go quiet, or you don't say what you need to say, or you don't do what you need to do. Or it takes forever for you to do something that could have taken 5 minutes because you're stuck in trying to make it so perfect, or you don't think it's right to go out and just need something else. See where I'm going with all that? Yeah. Self-trust really matters more, way more than performance. It really does. Because the performance will come with the self-trust. It will naturally follow. And this is the hard truth. Remember I said we were going to push some buttons? So I know there's probably a few buttons that have been pushed today. I know that every time we covered one of those patterns and habits, I would flash back into my memory of when that actually was happening to me. And those were my buttons being pushed in those moments. So if you're recognizing some of these things that's pushing your buttons, which this is a good thing because you're recognizing something that's not serving you, and we're going to get rid of it. So if you keep making yourself prove your worth, nothing is ever going to feel like it's good enough. It's just the way it is. If you keep telling yourself you're not good enough, you won't be. That's the bottom line. You need to really anchor yourself in trusting yourself. It's not the certification that makes you who you are. It's not the compliment that makes you who you are. It's not the sale that you made. It's not the degree you earned. It's not the applause you got that makes you who you are. It's not the achievement. It's your own self-trust, your own love for yourself that makes you who you are. And when you trust yourself, the real you can shine through. And the real you is the person who earned that degree, who earned the applause, who earned the achievement, who earned the compliment and the certification. the one who performs really well because you trust yourself, because you know that you know it, and you don't doubt yourself anymore. And you keep trying to prove your worth because you've already earned it. Does this make sense? I love this kind of stuff. If you believe you're not good enough for whatever reason, your brain will ensure you keep staying there. You can't outperform a belief. You can only change a belief, but you cannot outperform it. You can identify what beliefs you have, and if they don't serve you, you can change them. But you can never outperform it, because a belief is so deeply rooted in your subconscious mind that you will make that belief come to pass over and over and over again. And that is why imposter syndrome is such a terrible thing that affects people, and people don't even know they have it. Aren't you glad we're talking about this today? If any of this has hit home with you, even just a couple of these things, that makes me happy, because now you have a way, you have, some things that you can recognize that don't serve you. And then we can reset those. So imposter syndrome, we're gonna bring this home. Imposter syndrome often looks like you're constantly trying to prove yourself over and over. And these patterns can hide inside high-performing people and look as like normal performance. But it's silently costing you your energy, your visibility, your peace, your self-trust. So this week, we're going to catch the pattern, we're going to interrupt it, and we're going to say to ourselves, I do not have to keep proving what I've already earned. Okay? This is your reset. When you catch yourself in those moments, I do not have to keep proving what I know I've already earned. So if any of this resonates with you, I can't tell you how deep I was in imposter syndrome at one time. I've actually made a course, a very in-depth course, rooted in NLP, backed in science, and it's a go at your own pace course, because a lot of people that have imposter syndrome, as we've talked about, are high-performing professionals. And so I didn't want to have a rigid course where they had to show up at this time every day, because life is busy for everybody these days. It's a self-paced course where you go at your own pace. There's an incredible workbook that goes along with the actual program itself. And it actually deep dives way deeper than we went into today. And helps you recognize the self-defeating patterns that you've got running silently in the background. It actually helps you identify the limiting beliefs that you have that are keeping you stuck. And today I've shown you how to identify the patterns and the habits that these limiting beliefs are causing, that are wrapping themselves up in a thing called imposter syndrome. So if you're interested in, check out this course, because this will help you identify the beliefs that feed it, and you can change those beliefs and then flourish like the person you're meant to be. Shine like your true, authentic, beautiful self is meant to be. Make those crazy sales that you know you're capable of making, because you're not going to distrust yourself anymore. You're going to start trusting yourself. So if any of this resonates with you, I would love for you to check out that imposter syndrome course. But if you have some questions about anything I said today, or even about the imposter syndrome course, I shouldn't call it a course. It's way more than that. It's an actual program. So if you have any questions, you hop on my site at lindalilac.com and you check it out, and you've got some questions for me, feel free to send me a message. You can either reach me through the website, or you can send me a private message, or you can hop on what I have set up as a clarity call. And a clarity call is a simple, safe conversation that just talks about where you're at right now. We explore the patterns that keep you stuck and overthinking, overproving yourself. And we get clear on what's keeping you stuck or playing small. And these calls are free to you. There's absolutely no charge. But we talk about this in a very safe, non-judgmental way where we can try and identify some of these patterns. And then we talk about whether or not working together feels like the right fit to help you get out of this. Because it's one thing to recognize it, it's another thing, like we're doing today, to catch yourself in the moment. But digging down into those beliefs and changing those beliefs does take a little bit of work. And if you don't know how to do that, that's what a coach can help you do. And a good coach gets you results faster than trying to do it on your own. And trust me, I've been down that road where I've tried to do it on my own, and then I just like, why do I keep repeating this over and over? I thought I fixed that. And so eventually I get a coach, and boom, it is 100% gone and dealt with. And I'm so grateful and thankful, and it was worth my time and effort to do it. So if you are wondering what a coach can help you do or help you with, by all means, I'll drop a link in the comments, and we will, so that you can click on that and book a time, a free call, to have this clarity call so we can get clear on what's going on and how we might be able to work on that with you. So this is pretty darn cool. How are we for time? Oh my gosh. I'm getting good at the timing aspect. Okay. So either way, you're going to leave with at least one or two mindset resets on the clarity call anyway, because that's how I roll. I'm not about withholding anything. If I recognize something and pick up on it and it resonates with you, I'm going to help you with the mindset shift. So it's win-win for you. There's absolutely no reason not to. So I look forward to that. If you book a clarity call, I really look forward to chatting with you. So I'll put that in the comments. Yeah, okay, so don't forget, your mindset shift this week is, notice when the pattern shows up for you this week, try and catch it at least once a day, and then tell yourself, I do not have to keep proving what I've already earned, okay? Yeah, connect with your self-trust. It's in there. It's in there. Believe me, it's in there. You've earned it, okay? Clarity beats you cramming everything in, trying to be Miss Perfect or Mr. Perfect. Okay. Next Saturday. Next Saturday, oh my goodness, we are talking about what you need to take what you need. Hang on a second. Let me just double check something before we go any further. Oh yeah, here it is. Okay. Next week, we're talking about why downplaying your wins feels safer than owning them. So we're breaking down one of the things we talked about today. We're doing a deeper dive into that. Why rejecting a compliment or downplaying a compliment, and I'm not talking about being humble. I'm talking about telling your own self that you don't deserve the compliment silently, is very bad for you, okay? So next week we're talking about why downplaying your wins feels safer than actually owning them, why compliments make you feel squirmy or uncomfortable, and how shrinking yourself keeps the imposter syndrome pattern alive. So bring your coffee, because again, like always, we're going to be pushing some buttons next week. It's not that I love to push your buttons. What I love is that you recognize something that doesn't serve you, and then I love to give you the tools to shift on out of that. It's all about your mindset. So I really hope you've enjoyed today. Thank you for being here, and if you're catching the replay, thank you for catching the replay. I really appreciate all of you. And don't forget to give yourself credit when you have a win. pat yourself on the back, say congratulations, good job, you deserve that. Okay? And until next week, get out there and live a life you love. All right, we'll see you next Saturday. Bye for now.